Well, Mamdani is now the mayor-elect of New York City, and he won almost every category you could possibly imagine. He won all 5 boroughs except for Staten Island. That went to Cuomo, and the list goes on and on. He promises rent control, free healthcare, free childcare, free transportation, public transportation in and out of the city. Everything he's offering is free, free, free. And today, he came out with a little bit saying he needs you to keep donating money to his campaign. I think it's a whole scam, guys, and I'm going to break it down for you. Stick around. You just might learn something. So Mamdani won, and he won in a pretty good fashion, but everybody knew he was going to win to begin with. Everybody knew he was a front runner from the very beginning of this whole campaign. Sure, he had a couple of down times at the very beginning, but he got the momentum, and he got in there very easily. He was way ahead of everybody else. Cuomo came in. Eric Adams had to drop out. You got Curtis Silva had to stayed in the race. He probably should have bowed out. You know, Cuomo and Mamdani lost by about 140, 150,000 votes. Those votes went to Curtis. Curtis could have dropped out. Some of those votes most likely would have gone to Cuomo, but he decided to stick it out. So that's just kind of weird right there. He said he wasn't going to drop out no matter what. He was offered money to drop out, that he felt that he could win this thing. He knew he wasn't going to win this thing. He had no path to victory, but he stayed in, and it allowed Mamdani to win the mayoral race in New York. That's a problem. So the voters that came out to him, how long have you lived in New York City? Less than 5 years, and 5 to 10 years, 85 and 79% of those individuals voted for Mamdani. The people that have been there plus 10 or more years, or were born in New York City, he didn't really win them over. So people who are natives to New York City, actual New Yorkers, they didn't vote for him. That's pretty telling. He won big with the young voters. On the young voters from 18 to 29, 78%, 30 to 44, 66%, 45 to 64, 43, and 65 or older. That was the smallest win of victory. It was only 36%. Cuomo won the 45 to 64. Cuomo skewed a little bit older with the voters, because he's been around a long time, right? His father was a governor and so on. So they've been around a long time. So he got the older voters that were in New York. Mamdani clearly took home the win for the young voters. He is resonating with the young voters, guys. And the Republican Party needs to understand that. And they are winning on the social media fronts. They're winning on TikTok, Instagram. They're winning all over the place because they are resonating with young voters. People nowadays are out of touch. And whoever reaches young voters with social media is going to win these elections. Now, the younger adults, 18 to 24-year-old males, are skewing more conservative. That's how they're going. But their women are not. The young women came out for Mamdani. Women, 85% or whatever of women under 30 voted for him. That's pretty telling. What's going on with the Republican Party that they're not reaching these individuals? You know why? People forgot about work ethic. They don't want to work anymore. They don't want to get a job. They want to work hard. Everybody wants to make some livable wage. And I did a whole show on that. You can't pay 25 bucks an hour. You just can't do it for minimal labor skilled jobs. Low skilled jobs, bagging groceries, retail, working at McDonald's. No offense to anybody who works at McDonald's, but you can't pay those kind of wages for those kind of jobs. $25 is asinine. $20 an hour for that kind of job is at $15 is almost ludicrous. But they want that kind of money to be pushed into those kind of sectors and jobs because they want everybody to make a livable wage. And you can't do that. You can't pay those kind of wages when the education and the skill is not there for it. But that's what's happening. Young adults don't want to work hard. Young adults don't see the future. Young adults can't afford houses. They can't. People with engineering degrees make $110,000 a year, can't afford houses. The median income of a house is something about $450,000 in pricing. The average. People can't afford homes nowadays. And he resonates to those young adults by promising them all this free shit. They're not going to get it because what's going to happen is he's going to realize that people that have all the money, they're fleeing New York. They're going to flee for the Carolinas and they're going to flee for Florida. They're fleeing and they're going to come here. Don't come to Florida. We are full. They're going to go to Texas. They're going to go to places where it's friendlier on their taxes and their pockets because they don't want to be funding the government. 2%, 3% is a lot of money when you make $20 million, $50 million, $100 million. That's money you can turn around and invest in your own company or invest in other businesses. But he wants to take all that money because he's offering all this free stuff. He came out today on a video and he's asking people to keep sending him money. He asked them not to send him money, but now he's asking for you to send him more money. Why? Because he's got to pay for all these jobs that he's got to bring into the government office. It's clear. The exit polls were pretty good too. I mean, Mamdani won clearly across the board. Men, 18 to 29. Women, 18 to 20, 84%. He won big with people who are under 30 years old. The only people that voted for Cuomo were the older people, 45 to 64, 65 plus. They're dying off. Those voters are going off into the sunset. And if the Republican Party doesn't put out somebody quality in some of these campaigns, they're going to lose big time in the midterms. And they need to start waking up and realizing this isn't a blue wave, guys. By any stretch of the imagination. This wasn't a blue wave. Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, they were all going to go blue anyway. It wasn't that big of a deal. They really didn't have much of a candidate to support the Republican Party in place anyway. But this is very telling. This just shows you about these exit polls that the individuals they are reaching, and they are reaching the younger adults. Now, the young adults came out for Donald Trump in 2024. But he's not on the ballot. And when Donald Trump isn't on the ballot, he can't pull anybody across the finish line unless he's on the ballot. Him giving Cuomo his endorsement was a nightmare. He never should have done that. Donald Trump, another mistake he did, supporting Cuomo. Why? He should have just kept his mouth shut. Donald Trump shouldn't have gave any support to Cuomo because Cuomo was going to lose. And now Donald Trump hooked his wagon onto yet another loser. That, now the media is using the point, well, Donald Trump has no credibility. Donald Trump has no influence whatsoever in elections because he gave his support behind Cuomo. Cuomo didn't even win. And that's what you're doing right now with it. That's what the media is saying. That's what the Democrats are saying. Trump's lost his mojo. And unless he's on a ticket, his party doesn't win, even though Cuomo was a Democrat. And that's the scene that we're seeing time and time again. If the Republican Party doesn't get out there and put their hands out there to reach the young adults, those are the new voters. This older 65 plus, they're going to be gone in 15 years from now. They're not really going to be around. So they need to get a new batch of voters. And they need to do it quickly. Or when 2026 comes around, they're going to be standing with their hands out. Now, he won all 5 boroughs: Manhattan, Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens. The only one he did not win was Staten Island, and that's a little older, and that went to Cuomo as well. And these are just areas that we're focusing on. And you could break down each individual voter in those sections, and you can see where the pendulum is swinging. The Democrats, they got their ground game better than the Republicans. It doesn't even look like the Republicans put forth any effort to put any real candidates out there to run for these positions. I mean, in Pennsylvania, Virginia, you already had a Republican governor in Virginia, then you lost that to a Democrat. Even though it was going to go that way anyway, I think the Republicans just kind of, you know what, we know which way we're going to fight. We know which way we're going to go, which battles we want to get. And this is not a battle we're going to play. We're not going to go into this battle. We don't think anything's going to come of it. We're just going to pass on these 3 things, and we're going to worry about the midterms than anything else. Well, this is very telling with these exit polls and the people that they're reaching. Socialism is starting to take flight. We all know it doesn't work, but these younger voters, they like that idea because young voters don't understand what taxes mean. They haven't been working long enough. They make, $12 an hour, $14 an hour. They don't understand what taxes means to their paycheck. They just don't get it. They don't. They don't see it like everybody else sees it. So they'll vote for the free stuff because it sounds good, but they don't realize their taxes have to pay for that. And they don't feel it. When I talk to people about, you're going to be paying for this out of your taxes, they don't care. You think a 20-year-old cares about his taxes coming out of his check? No, they don't. They don't care about that. They don't worry about the deficit of $38 trillion. It doesn't bother them. They don't see it. So you think all these other things are going to worry them? No, you can tout the deficit. You can tout taxes all day long to an 18 or 24-year-old. They don't care. They're like blinded by it. They don't see it. You got to reach them another way. And how that way is, I don't know. It's up to the Republican Party to figure that out because they are losing. And these polls by this election, by who came out to vote, is pretty telling. Not that he won. We all knew he was going to win. But the individuals and who voted for him are extremely interesting. So we go by race. You got Asians voted for him big. Blacks voted for him big. Other Hispanic, Latino, white, they all voted for him big. The only area that was even kind of close was Cuomo. And against Silva, shouldn't even have been in the race. He shouldn't even have been in it. He should have just dropped out. I get it. You want to be a hard charger, but when the polling numbers show you clearly have zero path of victory, he should have just bowed out. It should have been a two-head race, Cuomo, Mamdani, and let the best person win, and that's not what happened. We kind of gave him in there. He did the old Ross Perot in 1992 with Bill Clinton and Bush Sr., and look what happened with that. I think the Republican Party needs to start focusing on how they're going to reach the young adult. Is it TikTok? Is it Instagram? Is it Kick? Is it doing live streams? It's something they got to do to start reaching them, because you know what? The American people are tired of the old folks. They're tired of them. We just heard Nancy Pelosi is no longer seeking re-election. She's out. The young adults don't like the old people. They don't. They don't want them in office anymore. They see how decrepit they are. Do you not think that watching Joe Biden fumble around for 4 years gave any influence to these young voters and who they were going to vote for now? They're going to vote for the 34-year-old guy with black, dark hair and no gray in his beard. That's what they're going to vote for. They're not going to vote for the gray-haired guy who could barely move his feet and shuffles around all day long. They see it. They see, 20 years ago, you can hide that. 30 years ago, you can hide that kind of candidate, right? Because it was just on the news and young people didn't watch the news. But you know what they do now? They're on this all day long. They're on social media all day, hours, every day, just scrolling. They're seeing videos, TikTok, influencers, screaming in their ear. They're seeing with their eyes. They're watching all these politicians. McConnell falling down 3 times in a year. Nancy Pelosi, like her head's in the clouds. Mitch McConnell freezing at the podium. They see that. They don't want those people anymore. And the Republican Party needs to wake up and need to start. Right now is the time you need to put term limits. I guarantee you, if you vote term limits right now, you will do a huge service to your party. You will wake up all these young adults who don't want old people in office, and they will vote for you. You have to do it. That's the one saving grace you would have as a Republican Party, to start reaching the young adults, to let them know, you know what, we're not going to have people in here for 44 years, 4 decades, that grow up in the Senate, grow up in Congress. We're not going to have that anymore, because we're making a change. We want young Americans to come represent their districts and their states. That's what we want. And if the Democrats don't get that, the Republicans need to. Because this is a very important thing that people want. Because you can see by all the polling, you can talk to any young adult, they will all tell you they don't like the old people. They don't. And if they can get rid of them, they will. And Cuomo, it's like 70 years old, 70-something years old. I mean, it's almost 40 years difference in these guys. Who do you think the young adults are going to go to? And they're the voters of the future. And the Democrats are getting them, just like they're getting them in the universities, just like they got them with the media. And they're getting them on social media with the influence and showing them videos of these old people and putting out young politicians out there. They don't care if he didn't have a job. They don't care. Young voters don't care if Mamdani never had a job in his entire life. It doesn't bother them. But you know what sounds good? Free healthcare. What sounds good? Oh, tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. And the Democrats say tax the rich all the time, but they don't talk about George Soros, do they? They don't talk about taxing all these other billionaires who fund all their campaigns. No. They talk about the mega wealthy, but they never really specify on their names. They hit Elon Musk a little bit because Elon Musk went against them in the elections. Other than that, they don't really talk about specific billionaires. They like to tout billionaires, but the billionaires are funding their campaigns. They just need a boogeyman to put in front of the young voters and say, listen, this guy's got $50 billion. Do you think he should have that kind of money? Even though he started a company out of his garage, hustling, for nickels and dimes, putting keyboards and computers together with spare parts he found at IBM garbage dump. I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying that. But that's what they look at. And they're like, okay, yeah, we don't like those guys anymore. We don't care how they got it. We just know they're billionaires now, and we want to take their money and pay for all this other stuff because it sounds great on paper, and that's what they want. And the voter turnout in New York City for this election was enormous. Compared to all the other years, from 2001 to 2025, 1.52 million in 2001 to over 2 million voters in 2025. New York City has 8 million people there, and only a quarter of them showed up to vote. But that's still a lot over the last 25 years, the amount of voters that turned out. They turned out for this one. Why? They want to change, guys. They don't want the old guys. They want to change. And the Republicans refuse to put a freaking young person out there to campaign and compete against these people. Put somebody against AOC that's her age, that's hip, can get on social media and TikTok. Put people like that out there. Nobody wants the gray-haired people. Nobody wants that one girl that ran against AOC in the last election. The chick with a hardcore, New York accent. She sounds like she works at a pizzeria. She had no business running against AOC. You can't even understand her when she talks. There's just a hardcore accent, and it doesn't play. It doesn't play for the rest of the people in New York. And it didn't work, and she lost miserably to AOC. That was a terrible candidate that the Republicans put up. And they keep doing it in these places. If you want to get the blue to back to red, you got to put quality out there. You just have to do it. The education level for the individuals was also very surprising. People that had advanced degrees were voting for Mamdani. People that had bachelor degrees were voting for Mamdani. No high school graduate, more of them voted for Cuomo. It's just telling, more educated people were voting for him, for the socialist guy. They were educated people because they're indoctrinated when they went to college and they just love all those programs. Let's just do it. And he won. So what's the answer for the Republican Party? What's the answer that they're going to be able to do to turn this ship around? Because the midterms are going to be here really quickly. As soon as the next couple of months come over, they're all going to put their hats in the ring. And they're all going to know who's going to be running for what office. They've already started. And you're going to have to make a decision. And the Republican Party needs to start putting quality candidates out there that can get the young voters. Old voters are going to vote for the party. We have, and we just do that. The younger voters are going to vote for what you tell them you can do and what you can offer them and how you sell it to them. That's what they like. They like free stuff. Now, of course, we don't want to do the free stuff because it costs a lot of tax dollars, but it sounds good to them. But you have to educate them and tell them the reason why. I have debates all the time with young adults. I had a debate the other day with a young 16-year-old. She was trying to tell me, her teacher bashes Trump all the time in her classroom, and she's kind of a little more liberal, leaning to the left. I educated her. I gave her some facts. And that's how you do. You got to give them some facts, and you got to reason with them. Say, okay, sure. Yeah, why are there only Spanish-speaking people typically are maids in hotels? Why? Well, that's a pretty good answer. Because they don't have to communicate with people. When you don't speak English in an English-speaking country, you don't want to work retail at Macy's. You go work as a maid, housekeeping, in a hotel. Because the only thing you got to say is, housekeeping, that's it. You go in there and you clean the rooms and you go to the next one. You don't have to really interact with anybody. So that's why those kind of individuals typically tend to gravitate to those jobs. It's about language barriers. And they don't have to learn it if they do those kind of jobs. That doesn't mean that those are the jobs they have to do. Those are the jobs they gravitate to because of their language barrier being in the United States. And you got to educate people and you got to tell them that's why. Not because they're poor, because those are the jobs they have to get because they don't speak English. So Republicans, if you're out there and if you're a parent or your uncle, aunt, whatever you are, talk to the young adults because they are the future. They're the ones that are going to be voting because in 15 years, those 65 plus, they're going to be gone. And it's the 18 to 24-year-old voters who are going to be making decisions for everybody. So talk to them. Well, that's it for today. Join me next time for a little chit chat, some observations, and some good old-fashioned conversation. Thanks.